Hey everyone, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to talk about the newly released hero in honor of kings, Lapulapu. Lapulapu isn't actually an original hero. He's a redesign of an existing hero from the Chinese server. He's based on Niu Mo, who's our lovely Princess of Rome, the Prince of Roamers, and he's one of the strongest early game roamers in the game. He's extremely popular among female Honor of Kings players in China, which is why people jokingly call him the Princess of Rome. But now that he has been redesigned into Lapulapu, we'll be referring to him as Lapulapu from here till the end of services. I compared the skills of both Niu Mo and Lapulapu to check whether they're exactly the same or if there are any differences, and surprisingly, there are some noticeable changes, and I'll explain all of that later in the video. So this is another episode of my main series,
欢迎来到王者荣耀，全军出击
where I break down heroes in detail. Today, I'll be covering Lapulapu, a significant historical figure from the Philippines. I'll explain all of his skills, his best builds, and also share some hidden mechanics you can use to your advantage while playing him. So without wasting any more time, let's roll the intro. Lapulapu is a really simple hero to learn and play, and as I mentioned earlier, he's an incredibly strong early game roamer. You'll understand why once I finish breaking down his passive. As usual, I'm starting with his passive before moving on to the rest of his kit. According to his passive, Lapulapu gains an additional 100 magical defense and 100 physical defense right from the start of the match. If one of his teammates enters his range, you'll notice an icon appear above their head. What does this mean? Lapulapu's passive doesn't just give him extra defenses. His teammates can benefit from it too. When an ally is within his 800 unit range, they will receive the same flat defense bonus he gets. But now you might ask, what happens if all teammates are near him? Will everyone receive the extra defenses? The answer is no. Only the teammate with the lowest HP will receive the bonus, not everyone at once. Another question you might have is, what if Lapulapu has no teammates nearby? Does his passive go to waste? Not at all. If he's alone, he instead receives an additional 50% bonus to both magical and physical defense, giving him even greater survivability in solo situations. And that sums up his passive. It's very straightforward, providing extra defenses either to Lapulapu himself or to a nearby ally. And yes, there is a small difference between Lapulapu's passive and Niu Mo's. Niu Mo receives 110 flat defenses instead of 100. This difference is very minor. Now let me share two secret tricks related to Lapulapu's passive. The first trick is tied to his passive range. Since the bonus defense depends on whether your teammate is within range, you need to know exactly how far it extends. You can actually use the range of his skill 2 as a reference. Its range roughly matches the area within which your passive can support teammates. This might sound simple, but understanding this spacing helps you roam freely, and check enemy positioning while still providing defensive support to your ally. It also helps you in understanding how far can you go while still supporting to your teammate. The second trick is about abusing his massive early game defenses. Lapulapu and his nearby teammate can gain over 100 additional dual defenses combined in the early game, at a time when nobody has penetration items yet. This means that during early game laning, as long as your ally is near you, you can confidently trade HP, poke aggressively, and suppress your opponents. You and your teammate lose very little due to your bonus defenses, while the enemy may take much more damage and be forced to play passively, losing farm and tempo. And there's more. If your jungler is someone like Pei, you must follow him early and invade. Pei is one of the best early invaders in the game, and with the combined strength of Lapulapu's passive, Pei becomes almost unstoppable in early skirmishes. Supporting your jungler here can heavily snowball your early advantage, and that covers everything you need to know about Lapulapu's passive. Now let's move on to his first skill. Lapulapu's skill 1 is the final, and the only major difference between him and Niu Mo. Unlike Niu Mo, Lapulapu's first skill has two phases, and how it behaves depends entirely on whether you tap it or charge it. When you tap the skill, Lapulapu slashes his blade forward, dealing damage to enemies and slowing them by 30% for 1 second. This version also reduces the skill's cooldown by 50%, making it much more spammable. When you tap and hold the skill to charge it, Lapulapu throws his weapon in the target direction. This deals damage and slows enemies by 15% for 0.75 seconds. After 6 seconds, the thrown weapon returns to him, damaging all enemies in its path as it comes back. While the weapon is charging, if it hits enemies, if enemies walk into it, or if it becomes fully charged, it stops in place and continuously deals damage. Lapulapu can manually retrieve it by touching it. When he does, he performs an additional slash that damages nearby enemies and knocks them up briefly. Each enemy hit by this enhanced slash also heals him. Both phases of the skill function very differently, and even the way you retrieve the weapon changes the outcome. If the weapon returns on its own after 6 seconds, it only deals damage along the return path. But if you retrieve it yourself while it is active and damaging enemies, you trigger the knockup and extra slash, adding more utility and healing. I really like this new mechanic they added to his kit. As I mentioned earlier, Neumo's skill 1 does not have 2 phases, nor any charging mechanic, so this redesign actually makes Lapulapu's first skill much more impactful, and gives players meaningful decision making depending on the situation. If you want my suggestion, and in my opinion you should tap his skill 1 when enemies are low HP and trying to escape, since this gives more slow effect for longer duration as well as it activates instantly. On the other hand, use the charged version in longer team fights to maximize its sustained damage, control, and healing. One more thing I forgot to mention. Enemies hit by this skill have 50 physical defense reduced for 2 seconds, which is very useful for both you and your allies. Now that you understand his skill 1 better, let's move on to his skill 2. Lapulapu's second skill is much simpler than his first one. Whenever you use this skill, he charges in the target direction, dealing damage to enemies in his path and launching them for 0.75 seconds. After they land, the enemies are slowed for 1 second. In short, this skill is his all-in-one CC package. I highly recommend not spamming or wasting this skill unnecessarily. You should save it for critical situations. For example, when you're hiding near your marksman and the enemy jungler dives her thinking she's alone, you can instantly use Lapulapu's second skill to heavily CC that jungler, giving your marksman enough time to reposition and potentially kill them. Now let me share 2 hidden tricks related to this skill. First, as I've discussed in other episodes with similar heroes, Lapulapu's second skill has a misleading range indicator. The range you see on the screen is actually shorter than the real hitbox. His true range is about 2 character lengths farther than the indicator suggests, so even when it looks like you won't reach the target, you usually end up hitting them anyway, surprising both you and the enemy. Second is the skill 2 plus flash combo, and no, I don't just mean extending the range. That part is obvious and very useful, and you should definitely do it whenever you can. But you can also use flash to hit enemies standing adjacent to your original target. For example, imagine 2 enemies are in front of you, and 2 enemies are standing to your left. Normally, Lapulapu's second skill only goes forward, so hitting all 4 simultaneously would seem impossible. However, this is exactly where flash shines. First, you use skill 2 to hit the enemies in front. Then, the moment your charge touches the second enemy in the front line, you instantly flash to the left before the animation ends. This will redirect the remainder of the charge and hit the enemies on the left as well, launching and slowing all of them exactly as the skill describes. This trick is incredibly effective and makes Lapulapu terrifying in teamfights. I love skills like this. They sound simple on the surface but are so capable of completely shifting the momentum of a fight. Lapulapu's ultimate may sound simple or plain at first, but it has some interesting gimmicks behind it, which I'll discuss after explaining the skill itself. So whenever you use his ultimate, Lapulapu briefly charges forward and cracks open the ground, dealing damage to all enemies within range and launching them for 1 second. During this brief moment, enemies cannot use any of their skills. Not only that, but the ground remains fractured for 5 seconds. Any enemy standing on it takes damage every 0.5 seconds and is slowed by 30%. His ultimate is tailor-made for teamfights because it hits a wide area, though its value depends heavily on the situation. Using it on a single enemy usually isn't ideal unless needed. Now let's discuss the hidden mechanics behind his ultimate. The first one applies to both his ultimate and his skill 2. Lapulapu's skill 2 and ultimate have high priority casting. What this means is that even though both skills have long startup animations, they cannot be interrupted once they begin. So even if Lapulapu gets controlled while casting them, the animation will still continue, and the skill will fully complete. This looks like a disadvantage at first, because the startup seems slow, but it's actually an advantage. Once you begin the cast, enemies cannot stop you. The second hidden mechanic is about chaining his skill 2 into his ultimate. Since his ultimate has a slow startup animation and his skill 2 launches enemies and slows them by 30%, you can take advantage of this window. After hitting enemies with his skill 2, immediately cast your ultimate. By the time the startup animation finishes, the enemies will still be recovering or slowed, making it almost guaranteed that the ultimate lands. This creates a perfect CC chain. The third mechanic is related to using bushes. When Lapulapu casts his ultimate from inside a bush, the enemy has no vision of the animation. That means they cannot see that he has already started charging his ultimate, making it nearly impossible to dodge. So whether in lane or during teamfights, using bushes to hide your ultimate cast can help you land perfect and unexpected CC. The fourth mechanic is that Lapulapu can perform an ULT plus flash combo, just like his skill 2 plus flash. Flash can change the ultimate's direction and landing point. Since the startup animation is long, you can flash right before the animation completes, causing the ultimate to instantly erupt in a completely new location. This confuses enemies, forces them to waste mobility skills, and guarantees your crowd control. And with that, we're done discussing all of his skills. These were the most detailed breakdowns of his kit, and now that his abilities are fully covered, let's move on to the best settings for Lapulapu. As for Lapulapu's settings, I don't think he really requires any specific adjustments. He's an engaged type roamer, and almost any standard setting will work for him. However, if you still want a reference or prefer copying something reliable, then you can simply use my settings, which I'll show you now.
Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah.
So about Lapulapu's build, we need a setup that gives him both high cooldown reduction and strong tankiness. That's exactly why I created this build and arcana set. These items give Lapulapu very high defenses plus full cooldown reduction, making him extremely durable while still being able to spam skills frequently. To start the build, the first item is the Roamer item Redemption. Many players don't know that Lapulapu's passive synergizes perfectly with Redemption. His passive gives him a massive amount of bonus defenses, which greatly strengthens Redemption's shield, making it incredibly effective for saving low HP teammates. Next we have Frigid Charge, which slows enemies and further enhances the chain combo I mentioned earlier when discussing his ultimate. I told you before. Use your skill 2 first to slow the enemy, and then use your ultimate for a guaranteed hit. But now, with this build, you can take it even further. First, use your Redemption active to gain an extra shield for yourself and your teammates. Then use skill 2 to knock them up and slow them. After that, activate Frigid Charge to apply another powerful slow, and then cast your ultimate. This combo slows enemies so much that they'll feel like they're stuck inside a black hole, constantly being pulled in, unable to escape or even use their skills. Once you master this in real matches, it becomes insanely strong. The rest of the items are standard roamer choices, and you can adjust them depending on the situation. For example, in the late game, switch to resistance boots. And if the enemies have a lot of physical damage dealers, replace Succubus Clock with Cuirass of Savagery or Spike Mail. And that's it for his build. Now let's move on and see what combos Lapulapu actually has. I think I've already shared 2 Lapulapu combos with you while discussing his skills. The first one where you use skill 2 followed by your ultimate, and the second one, which was simply an enhanced version of that same combo. Now we're left with only one more, and it's basically the previous combo with an added skill 1. This final combo is 2, 3, 1. Just like before, you start with skill 2, then use your ultimate, and afterward add skill 1 for either extra damage or an additional slow on the enemies, and that's really all there is to his combos. There isn't much complexity. Most of it comes down to your own decision making and how you choose to use your skills depending on the situation. So about whether you should play him as a Clash laner or as a roamer. Well, to answer that, I would say your top priority should always be playing him as a roamer. He's incredibly effective in that role, able to protect your marksmen from getting harassed early so they can have an easier late game. You can also roam with your jungler if they're strong in the early game, allowing you to gain full control over the enemy jungle through invades and secure early epic monsters together. He can also be played as a Clash laner, and here's why. Niumo's old skill 1 wasn't great at clearing minion waves, but Lapulapu's reworked skill 1 now allows him to deal continuous damage or benefit from a 50% cooldown reduction if you simply tap it. This helps him clear waves quickly without wasting time, enabling him to rotate and assist his team more effectively. So yes, Lapulapu is viable as a Clash laner too. I may make another video discussing what other roles you can actually play him in and what the best builds would be for those roles, so if you really want that video, do let me know in the comments section. And that's it for this video, lads. I hope that by now you fully understand this new hero, and I believe I explained all of his mechanics in a way that's easy to grasp. If you learned something valuable from this video, then please both hype and like this video, and give me a follow on Instagram. Also, subscribe to my channel. I'm close to reaching 5,000 subscribers, and I really want us to hit that milestone before the end of this year. By subscribing, you'll also become a member of my amazing W subscribers family. And if you're financially stable, please consider joining my channel membership to support me financially, so I can stay motivated to keep making more videos on this game and help this community grow even stronger. With that, I'll see you in the next video. Till then, bye and love y'all.